A good evening, dear viewers. Welcome to the Face Off on WBS television. And as usual, we are glad to be with you. My name is Baguma Tinkasimire Richard, and now I'm sitting in the chair of the moderator. My colleague Peter Chivazo is not in the country, and I've taken over from him temporarily. And this is an agreed temporary takeover.
So you are a Husu.
It's not a
You are a Husu.
it's not a coup. And the voice you are hearing is so far my one-man guest, Charles Rumshana. Charles Rumshana, you are welcome to the Face Off this Friday.
The Almighty God is great.
We expect, dear viewer, to be joined by another one or two panelists in the course of the show. But we will go off with one of the issues we are going to take a look at. This week, on Monday, an important conference in this country took place. It usually takes place anyway, oftentimes at the beginning of the year. And this was the conference of judges that took place in Entebbe. The conference was opened by the president, and the president is reported to have told the judges not to give bail to a category of offenders, especially those of a capital nature. But this is not the first time that the president is voicing this view. And this has triggered a debate. Charles, this debate that is running on social media, that's been running in the papers, some saying he's interfering with the judiciary, others saying every one of us has a view to share with the judges. Others say, as the chief executive officer of this country, he has views to put across. Whom do you agree with, Charles?
You see, that's what is very interesting, more especially around President Yoweri Museveni. When his in-law, in-law, and at the same time father-in-law of his son, Sam Kutesa,
Honorable
and president of some group.
No, the United Nations General Assembly, yes.
Okay, very good. Had a problem. You know, the law was very clear that if your bail lapses, then you are committed immediately. And many went through it. They had bail, lower court, Chief Magistrate's Court. On committal, the bail would lapse. But for some Kutesa...
But who are those who went through this?
They are several. They are very several. That had been the practice. And Bukenya, for instance, the vice president of the Republic of Uganda,
the former vice president,
Bukenya, went through it. As soon as he was committed for trial, bail lapsed. He had to apply for bail, but he had to go to Rizera. But for some Kutesa, it became special. It became special in the sense that they had to convene a constitutional court very quickly, and for a constitutional court to hold that the IGG was not fully constituted. That was point number one. And then two, that denial of bail, the lapse of bail is unconstitutional. And the reason was simple, that Honorable Sam Kutesa was not to enter Rosera. Now, on the other case, which is not capital, by the way, this case of Gavi, if you remember, the only conviction was his sister-in-law, I forget the name, Gavi, and Kaboyo, Madam Aris Kaboyo, and the conviction was a few years, but with the option of a fine. But these people were ready with the amount of the fine. They actually knew the judgment. In my view, this judgment appears to have been negotiated. They knew the judgment, and they came with cash already. This time
allow
banks,
me to take you on that one.
because it's Saris Kabayo.
No.
I can get another example.
No, because you see,
get another
because
example.
you see, Charles, I'm trying to be balanced. I'm trying to get the evidence that you have, because you are making extremely serious allegations against the judiciary.
Yes,
You are making very serious allegations. I would like to just take you on
you
that
see,
one.
the only conviction,
that
actually there were two.
That
One
they
of
knew
my-
the judgment,
yes.
that
Because
they had the money, that they did to go to look for the
and
money.
it was cash, 20 million shillings in the pocket. It was cash.
Yeah,
There was no balance. There was no.
I want to
because
take
see,
you on that allegation.
were
Did they
there-
have the money, or
we
did
were-
they look for the
it's
money?
like now I know that your shirt is not green as they are seeing it actually. It's blue.
No, I'm very serious.
So we
You see,
were there. We saw.
and this short talk is diversionary in my
No,
view.
we were there.
That they had.
We were.
Because did you count the money in the bag?
Yes. You see.
Are you the one who was holding the bag?
You see, he just pulled out a band of 20.
And so what remained in the bag?
Zero.
Or you were looking into
Zero,
the bag?
because
But
they
just
had
go ahead.
withdrawn. They
But
had
just go
withdrawn.
ahead.
They had withdrawn. So in other words, all that they are inviting for others, i.e., injustice, their families have not faced it. So they actually don't know. I am trying. I've tried to crack into the history of President Museveni and all that are close to him vis-a-vis injustice. Of course, they have been in exile. But they have not been killed by insurgency. They've caused trouble. Insurgency has killed others, but they've not lost to insurgency. They are all close people, in terms of children, in terms of wives, in terms of fathers. They may have lost friends and distant relatives, but they have not crossed. You see, their children are not shedding the tears of orphans. Their wives are not shedding the tears of widows. But so it is either say, we killed them. Yes, you don't know the weight of being killed. You see, so when you say on specific cases you should not get bail, yes, he doesn't know what it means to be in prison when you're innocent. He doesn't know. It's weight. Every other minute, whenever there was an opportunity, he would take off. Whenever there was a threat, he would take off. But he does not know. He has not faced He has not faced the injustice of being incarcerated when you are innocent. He has not faced it. He has not fallen sick in a prison cell and he is denied access to medical care. He doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. Every time now they have a case, they have access to lawyers, including their own sons-in-laws. So they actually don't know what it means to take plea. They don't know what it means. They have not experienced. They have not felt what it means to face a charge without a lawyer. They don't know it. They even don't know the impact of the price. They don't know safe houses. At least they may know the jungles of running here and there, but they don't know safe houses. So if we sat in the Constituent Assembly and said, if you are denying me my liberty, it's you who has a case. We are giving you 48 hours. If you have a case within 48 hours, you should have done with the DPP. And if the case is there, take me to prison. But I'm innocent. I'm innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is yours who is alleging. And it becomes more serious if it's of a capital nature, as you said, because the ultimate result is death. So you is alleging I should be killed, I killed, or maybe I was involved in terrorism, etc. You should have the facts.
Now,
and we did. But we were mindful in the Constituent Assembly, because I was a member, we were mindful of the fact that in history, the state persecuted its political opponents. And we wanted to curtail that. That's why we said there should be a third party to look through what you have gathered as evidence. And that is the DPP. But the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions should be independent. Should be independent. What do we have now? A compromised office of the DPP.
I'm going to come to that, to the nature of the office of the DPP and the other institutions that go around this. But what some of the situations that we are dealing with in 1995, situations do change. That sometimes when you talk to people who do investigations, I'm sure you have done this, it is sometimes not realistic to get the evidence you need only in 48 hours. And you have been doing investigations, and you have experience with this.
Why can't you get the evidence? You see, if you don't have evidence, then don't arrest. You see, if you don't have evidence. Actually, the law, the Security Organization's statute or act, mandates the Director General, with clearance from the President, because you can't be arrested on the basis of intelligence gathered except with the authority with clearance from the President. But the Director General is allowed to clear it, but is given a time limit, 48 hours. Because you see, someone is going, and I'll give you an example of Wembley that I monitored very, very closely. The operatives of Wembley ended up being debt collectors. So there is nothing that will stop a police officer saying that the fellow who killed so and so is Baguma. And that's why we are saying that there should be somebody that to look through this. You can't tell me that all these sheikhs were involved in killing these 2 sheikhs or 13 of them. There could be one sheikh that is innocent. Of all these fellows that are arrested, there could be one. And the justice is for that one. You see, by the way, you would rather acquit 100 who are guilty, who committed the crime, than convict one who is innocent. That's not my principle. It's not Rumshana's principle. So we try to guard against abuse of power. We try to guard against persecution. That's why, you remember the case of Cheye, when
he has had many cases.
Yeah, but there is one where they said he raped a woman and forced a woman to when he was driving to do those silly things. And if I can recall very, very well, the judge said, okay, can you try to do it for us? What he forced you to do. I mean, do some mock exercise. But Cheye's tummy couldn't allow. The tummy crossed the gap between Cheye and the steering wheel. It was not physically possible. It was not possible. The judge looked at some of those things and acquitted Cheye. So in other words, you can be in prison when you are innocent. And you could also be in, like the case of Chiza Besigye and rape. And do you know how many cases are could be brought against Amama Mbabazi? Defilement, rape, name it. There is one who has just died somewhere in the prison that he made threats. There could be very many cases. But there must be an office, there must be an independent organ to look at the evidence that you have gathered. That's the office of the DPP, to ensure that there is no political persecution, to ensure that the job was done and done thoroughly. Now, since the burden of proof is on the part of the state, if you are ready to do the prosecution, because they are the ones who always delay prosecution, they say investigations are still continuing. Their investigations never end. You get? So why should one stay on remand 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years? It means he's serving the sentence. So if you stay on remand for 30 years and later on you are acquitted, how has it benefited you? How does one compensate you?
So you are saying that in your experience as an investigator, you were able to solve all puzzles in 48 hours or less?
You see, if you don't have evidence, don't arrest. You see, because they carry out investigations in the media. We suspect, actually they don't say we suspect. The one who did it is Baguma Richard. Now you have already alerted him. And you go on jumping up and down, causing arrests and trying to have public shows. You do your investigations quietly. If you have reasonable grounds to believe it is X who committed the crime, then arrest and prepare the papers. You don't need to have all the evidence, but you can do the documentation in 48 hours. You can have preliminary evidence that can have the DPP consent. If the DPP doesn't consent, then give police bond. That's why there is police bond in our law, in our statutes. Give a police bond. If the DPP consents, then take to court, and it's at the discretion of court to grant bail or not.
And,
but by the way,
in the president's remarks, he never took away that discretion.
No, he's saying they should remove it.
He never took away that. if he did not order or instruct. He has shared this view, and it's not the first time that he's sharing this view. And we have had this view shared severally by several people who say, look, we have this person in our village, by the way, in the village, in the local areas. Some of the people are voicing this. And it has led to further crime. We have this person, we are bringing this person to the police or wherever we take them, and they get released very quickly. First of all, they come back to terrorize those ones who have reported them. But we know in this village that this person, anyway, is the wrongdoer, and the public metes out violence on this person.
Yeah, so are you suggesting that the court should also carry out mob justice? Then where is the difference? Is that justice? You see, do you know the one who killed the Tanzanian at Kabamba in 1981?
I don't know.
Eri Tumwine.
Tell me.
Eri Tumwine. Eri Tumwine. And President Museveni writes in his book that Eri Tumwine shouldn't even actually, Eri Tumwine is the one gives the story, narrates the story. Was not only an eyewitness but a participant in a role but behind. And I think in some conversation somewhere says Eri Tumwine should have gone and strangled. Does crime have limitation? Under criminal law, it has no limitation. It's in civil cases where I've got a limitation. Now, can you arrest Eri Tumwine and charge him with murder? Can you arrest President Museveni and charge him with murder? Or that host of that group he was with in that rally for killing that Tanzanian who hadn't even provoked them? Can you charge them with murder? How do you resolve contradictions of a political nature that have turned violent and have caused deaths? How do you resolve them? Do you resolve them? Now, are you going to resolve the Yemen crisis through courts, through judiciary? Are you going to resolve the mayhem in Libya through crisis, the mayhem in Libya through judiciary? Are you going to resolve the crisis in Nigeria through judiciary? This is where we are going. Because the hand that kills the chairman, LC3, the hand that kills the sheikh in Musoga, and the hand that kills the police officer, because according to their own pronouncements, the gun is the same. Therefore, the hand appears to be the same. It could be one individual, it could be a group. The three don't meet. The three don't rhyme. The police officer and the guard, not an investigator, the sheikh and the chairman, who is a political leader, they don't rhyme. Therefore, in my view, this hand is a political hand. The killings are political. They are like Eri Tumwine's killings. They are like President Museveni and the host of the 7 who killed at Kabamba killing. So do you resolve that contradiction through this judicial system? You don't. You have to devise other mechanisms. In other words, President Museveni is looking at is condensing a huge problem that is erupting in the country. You remember the Chegegwa killing, where they cut off the head of a pastor and took it to the mosque. The mass graves, because I saw the Minister of Internal Affairs promise that he was going to do an accountability for all the elements in the mass graves, and it stopped there. He is now constituted. He has now zeroed on identity cards. Those ones will be identified by somebody else. So people have been killed severally with Ayimba etc. So there is a problem, and President Museveni is trying to condense it to a description of mere crimes. It's political. If it is political, therefore, resolve this problem politically. And in my view, it's a conversation. Where have we gone wrong?
Okay, let's also look at that a little bit more. From what you say, these are political crimes, and therefore they should not be punished by courts.
The resolution, because
it should be
his narrative. The problem would have been solved long ago. It wouldn't be there. It is because the judiciary is laxed. And I beg to defer. For instance, during Wembley, it was the same narrative, and he established military courts. But the military courts did not solve the problem. Actually, by the way, Brigadier Kayanja, in his briefing at State House, said that they were putting out of action suspects. They were carrying out extrajudicial executions. Still, it did not solve the problem. What do we now see? That the commanders of Wembley have been killed. Part of this wave that we are talking about, that he thinks judiciary can solve by also carrying out extrajudicial hangings and executions, part of these killings have also included commanders of Wembley. They have been eliminated. In other words, the extrajudicial system that he wanted to bring in place, the ambition of by circumventing these courts and then go for his traditional courts that are easy to manipulate, i.e. the military courts, they still not solve the problem. In other words, you can't solve this problem through judicial means. You can solve it through extrajudicial means. In other words, you must solve the problem of governance. I mean, if you reflect on himself, how come that for all the years you have ruled really, people are angry with you, are angry with what you do, and out of anger they begin killing themselves?
It's on that note of people killing themselves, on that angry note, according to Charles, that we are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we are going to actually listen to some of the comments the president made at the judges' conference. And we will also go back to Charles, but I think we'll have an opportunity to have our listeners, our viewers, also make some comments. Don't go away.
Zing, the ultra-low-cost mobile phone instant messaging app, allows you to stay in touch with friends, family, and the world around you. Designed in Africa for the world, Zing works on most featured phones and all smartphones and actually rewards you to stay in touch. Zing is 100% free to download and has been cleverly designed to use minimal data, ensuring you stay in touch for longer. It's amazing. Zing is secure and encrypted, ensuring peace of mind over time you chat. Add some Zing to your life. It really is amazing.
Health Center Point Services tuli bakugu mu kujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga tukosa eddagala erijjanjabira mu byokulya. Tulina ebyuma ebikebera buli kitundu kya mubiri gwo era nga biva Bungereza n'Amerika. Tujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga sukaali, sickle cells, ania, abagwa ensimbu, pressure, cancer, abalwadde b'ensigo, abakyala n'abaami abatazaala, abaluma omugongo, okusannyalala, abaami abanafu mu nsonga z'amaka, abalwadde b'ekibumba n'endala nnyingi. Zange Kulandan Chambers, Wilson Street, okuliraana Pioneer Mall, room 14 ne 15. Tukubire ku ssimu okumanya ebisingawo.
Think you have nothing to sell? Look around your home. You'll find something you don't use anymore that you can sell on OLX.
Simply download the OLX app, take a photo of the item you want to sell, post it on OLX for free, meet the buyer, and tunda! OLX, everything sells.
Welcome back, and in case you are just joining us, you are watching the Face Off, your Friday night premiere program on WBS television. I'm Bagumati Kasemire Richard. I'm standing in for Peter Chibazo, who is far away from the borders of this country, and I am together with my colleague Charles Kumshana. First, before we went for the break, I told you that we are going to listen to President Yoweri Museveni speaking to judges at their conference in Entebbe, and where this question of denying bail to a certain category of offenders, especially those ones who have offenses of a capital nature, came up, and it's been trending as a debate. I'll ask my producer, Simbi, to first give me the comments, and we listen to what the president said while he was in Entebbe speaking to the judges.
All those serious crimes, defiling children, you will not stay in remand for more than 180 days if the government will not, if the prosecution will not prove their case. Should not die because of actions of other people. That's number one. If you have got a judicial system which protects life, you can be sure of stability in the country. The judicial system must protect property, pretend that they are on the side of freedom. Freedom at the expense of everything else. And in so doing, you undermine freedom itself.
You heard some of these comments, and dear viewers, you'll have an opportunity when the numbers will start running on the screen to call in, and we also hear your comments. But Charles, you've listened to the president, and he's saying that some of us do pretend to love these freedoms, and we leave everything else to chaos.
You see, systems run on a procedure. So there is the criminal procedure law, there is the criminal procedure rules, you call them regulations. These are passed by government. It's otherwise you would have anarchy, you would have confusion. Parliament has got rules, so is the judiciary. And it's governed by a law. The law is passed by Parliament. It's also governed by the Constitution. The Constitution is passed by the population, the Constituent Assembly. And what does the law say? The law says you are innocent until you are proved guilty. That's the law. Otherwise, we would change it. If you want, change it. So what is the duty of the judge? The judge was not there when you committed the crime, or when the said alleged crime was committed, was not there. He has to look at the facts that are given to him or her. That's court. And you have a right to fair hearing. This right cannot be taken away, the right to fair hearing. Meaning that the one who is alleging against you must bring the allegations to you, including the evidence he has gathered, and then your side of the story be heard. For instance, if they are alleged that 5 minutes ago you killed someone in Rukunjiri, it's not possible because you are at WBS in Kampala. So it's not possible that 2, 3, 5 minutes. So that means then it involves a lot, visiting the locus, it involves the arbai. So you can plead for yourself. You should be given a right to defend yourself. And then the judge weighs where there is any bias, where there is any doubt, it is the benefit of the accused. That's our judicial system. Now, if the president, because you see the president's view, and those who subscribe to his view, is that as long as police has picked on you, or as long as there are some that allege you've committed that crime, then you are guilty of that crime.
Two things that I think I also could hear, if I was hearing correctly. One, that the judiciary has some discretionary powers over bail. And he's calling for greater exercise of this discretionary power in some of the cases. But, of course, you talk about the law, he has also called for an amendment of the law to suit this situation.
And it's not in good faith. You see, if can the judiciary advise the president, order the president on how to manage State House?
They have actually done so.
No. If they did so, they would be in trouble. Because religious leaders have been in trouble. The religious leaders are civil society. They have been in trouble for advocating certain lines. There is no way therefore because you see the president has a lot of impact. For him to host judges or preside over judges' function as head of state and tells them to be sharp is to influence their independence, the independence of their thought. And this constitution is very clear that there is separation of powers. The judges or the judiciary ought to be independent and overwhelmingly independent in their thought. They shouldn't be influenced by anybody, by any authority, in their thought. Be it newspapers, be it public debate, be it anything, shouldn't influence them. But now the president gathers them, or maybe they have gathered themselves for some purpose, the conference, and he's telling them, please do it this way. It has a lot of impact. And in my view, all those that are interested in defending justice should oppose it, should fight it.
Okay, dear viewers, we are joined by another gentleman who professes to do what Charles has just said. Fight for the independence and rights of people. This is Honorable Segona. My brother, you are very welcome to the show.
Many thanks and good evening, viewers out there.
We are talking about the Conference of Judges. This happens all the time. This time it was in Entebbe. And as usual, they invited the president, oftentimes to open. And he again sounded his view, which he sounds strongly, that he thinks the exercise of bail, particularly in offenses of a capital nature, should be more stringent. You are a lawyer too, aren't you?
Well, you've said it.
You are also a member of parliament.
That's also correct, and a member of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee where these amendments are supposed to come.
You are also part of the opposition.
I'm not just part of the opposition. I'm actually the minister responsible for justice and constitutional affairs in that government.
There you go.
Some people call it shadow. I see the others in the shadow too. But I think, first, people must be able to understand the kind of president they have. He's limitless. And it is dangerous for any country to have a limitless president or chief executive who thinks, I know it all, I will do it all, I will do it my way. That's very, very dangerous for any country. I think what the president was talking about was purely politics and the politics of intimidation. Remember, in the past, he has singled out particular offenses, what he called the economic sabotage, treason. Now he's talking about basically corruption related, a number of charges. Had it been said by Charles Romushana, I would have said that he was speaking out of ignorance. But being the head of state, I think I would say he was speaking out of innocence. As Charles pointed out, even when Charles is not a lawyer, I think it is common knowledge, it's elementary understanding of how governments practice and work, that in Uganda, especially in the Anglophone setting of our legal system, a person is presumed innocent. That's point number one. Number two is that, especially in Africa, and more particularly in Uganda, where you have President Museveni presiding over, you will realize that those are political offenses. Dr. Kizza Besigye was charged with rape. Why? Because he stood up to contest for the highest office in this country. And these were the words of the Honorable Justice Katusi, John Bosco Katusi, in his ruling of no case to answer. And one of the most intriguing things was that actually they got an SD reference of a particular offense, was it theft or assault, somewhere. And they turned it somebody. You get the Director of Criminal Intelligence of this country falsifying a public record for purposes of convicting a political opponent of the president. And one day when the president was in Gulu, he said, if Mr. Butera, now the Honorable Justice Butera, then DPP, had not prosecuted or sanctioned that file against Dr. Besigye, he would himself have been charged. So with that kind of political interference, with that kind of disorganization in the state, you can see the background where the president is coming from. He's the one, first of all, who persecutes people. And he uses the criminal justice system in this country to persecute his political opponent. So when he says that, as Charles said, it's not in good faith, but it is also not based on knowledge or proper appreciation of how our laws work. But having been advised, that's why you hear he's saying we must amend the Constitution to put in those clauses that ensure no bail. Unknown to him and his advisors is that courts have said, unless you're going to amend the entire Bill of Rights in the Constitution, because where there is any provision, even in the Constitution itself, and there are two provisions, one is conflicting with the other, One is enforcing and is giving effect to the fundamental and other human rights, and the other one is restricting those rights. Still, the courts would enforce those provisions which promote and give effect to the enjoyment of those rights. So that said, there is a lot more than that. The fact that the president was presiding over a judges' conference or a function of judges, and in that particular conference, there is no Chief Justice, or there are two of them, as some people have put it before, was again symbolic of another tyrant hovering over the heads of these judges, because none of them could even stand up to him to advise him. We all judges were just invited to the conference, we just look on. The man makes all those errors, makes all those blunders, you know, in public view. There's nobody to even talk to him, you know, part and say, please, Mr. President, I think that one you went overboard. Why? Because there is no Chief Justice. There's no head for that particular institution. I think he's hiding his incompetence. He's hiding his dictatorship and tyranny in the presidential expression. You have a president who cannot even sign an instrument appointing a Chief Justice already approved and recommended by the Judicial Service Commission. That's the best he could do, playing drama. In my view, the president was simply playing drama. He was not making a point.
I think it's also fair. And it's because the producers we didn't really think about getting some of these views. I think it should also, we should also acknowledge that there have been voices at rallies, voices from the public in forums which say this bail thing and even bond, by the way, are being either abused or they are being used to disadvantage us as communities. I think it's fair to say those voices have been there.
That's
I
correct.
think it's unfair to totally dismiss that these voices have not been there.
That's correct. It is true that some voices have been there. Because judges are human beings, magistrates are human beings, policemen and police officers are human beings. They make errors. We've had a presidency in this country, okay, right from the days of Botewan, days of Idi Amin, right from the days of Tito Okello Lutwa, now we have Joel Museveni, etc. And we've had mistakes at State House. We've not abolished the presidency. We've had mistakes committed by the army. We've not abolished them. It's a question of telling people, guys, stick to your professional code. Guys, read and appreciate the law. Judges make mistakes even when it comes to the law. Okay, some judges. And it is normal to make mistakes. What you do not do is to say they will never exercise their functions because they've made mistakes. Mr. Museveni has made so many errors in this country, selling our factories, retrenching people, mismanaging the army, and abusing all sorts of institutions placed at his disposal. We have never said we get him out on that account, or we go and say we abolish his office. Okay, he remains the chief executive and he continues to perform the functions of the chief executive, notwithstanding the blunders that have been so costly to this country. So, those judges, that's why they continue training, that's why they are precedents, they look at their brothers and sisters' precedents. I mean, doctors in Mulago make errors and people die in operations, etc. We have never said they should stop operating patients. So I think it's equal and fair, and it meets very, very disturbing that you have got a whole head of state. By the way, we must also allow him some margin of error as a human being. But that margin of error must not go beyond the ordinary. He must speak presidential. And if he does not have the capacity to speak presidential, then he should retire.
Charles?
Yeah, the public has unanimously called for the prosecution of the big thieves. And Justice Katusi, in his ruling judgment, I think on the case of Cheye, asked for the big fish, the crocodiles. But they've continued to give him Mukene.
I know the crocodiles are not fish.
The big fish and the crocodiles. But the justice system has continued to give the judiciary Mukene, small fish.
Selective.
Yes, yes, but there is no way, even if the judge was aware or witnessed the corruption, can go and pick you and bring you before court. It must still be the same police sanctioned by the DPP to bring you before court. By the way, even if the judge was present when you commissioned the crime, he wouldn't testify. He wouldn't testify against you because he cannot be judged in his own case. I have another case of this Kajubi case. You remember this kid who was sacrificed, the massacre, this businessman Kajubi. And the witnesses, the witch doctors who killed the kid in the most gruesome manner and came in testify, giving suits to come in and testify against Kajubi. The judge was saying, but why didn't you bring me this? But the judge couldn't convict them or punish them.
Could not arraign them.
He couldn't arraign them. That's how, those are the limitations of our judicial system. The other case, by the way, if you were convicted and the Constitutional Court upheld the conviction to death, to face death, and later on it's discovered that the alleged person to have been murdered is still alive, too late. Because how do you come back to the Supreme Court for them to reverse this judgment? Too late. So we could have some limitations, but that's our judicial system. However, the conversation should not be that you should be given room to politically persecute your opponents, because we are dealing with with a presidency that has been a monster since the 1960s. And that's what the Constitution, that's what guided the 1995 constitution making process. How do we limit the powers of the president, of the presidency? Because those powers were abused. And all the restrictions on the presidency put in the Constitution have been removed. Now, Parliament is subordinate to the president, because the president controls the caucus of the ruling party. All appointments, including to the parliamentary commission, are by the same caucus. It's still the same president, including the speaker and the deputy speaker. He determines them. So Parliament is finished. It can't call him to order. It can't remove him. It can't audit him. It's finished. Now, the other only organ that is limping on is the judiciary. But even then, the judiciary is under attack, and you
need to get this information as well. For example, you remember the case of Grace Binjira. What Mr. Museveni is trying to propose is to legislate detention without trial, because he knows how his system works. They take you to court, say investigations are still continuing. You are not committed to the High Court. You spend 3-5 years, then they commit you. After committing you, they come up and the case fails. Now, you've been in detention for 3-5 years. The next day they say, we have failed to get evidence. And by that time, the election is over. Assuming you are Dr. Besigye, you wanted to stand, you're remanded in Luzira, because there is no bail, you will not be heard. And after 3 years, the election is long gone. They release you and say, well, the state can pay. That's how he abuses our institutions.
We are going for a commercial break. Gentlemen, you all seem to say that there is totally no case for talking about bail.
Not only no case, there is actually no sense.
You all also totally seem to say that even the voices that are saying that are totally senseless.
The best
Let's
on
go
ignorance.
for a commercial break, and when we come back, hopefully, we will be able to hear some of those voices from our viewing public. Don't go away.
Would someone come to visit Ceci? Oh, that's Cecilia's boyfriend.
She doesn't look very happy, does she?
I love you.
If you love me, you wouldn't be with another woman, Alejandro.
And I'm going to conquer that woman's heart being a waiter, where I will no longer be known as Eduardo Science.
Mr. Eduardo needs to speak to you.
Let me
Just a
know.
minute. No, I have to thank him for everything he's done for us. Can I? Please.
He wouldn't like that.
There are some prettier, but this is the most romantic.
Is it true that everyone who meets you falls deeply in love with you?
You make this woman's life impossible, and that's just wrong. You four belong together, all of you, making this poor girl's life miserable.
You took from me what I love the most. You're gonna pay for that. No.
Hold on, you just can't.
No.
Zing, the ultra-low-cost mobile phone instant messaging app, allows you to stay in touch with friends, family, and the world around you. Designed in Africa for the world, Zing works on most featured phones and all smartphones and actually rewards you to stay in touch. Zing is 100% free to download and has been cleverly designed to use minimal data, ensuring you stay in touch for longer. It's amazing. Zing is secure and encrypted, ensuring peace of mind over time you chat. Add some Zing to your life. It really is amazing.
Stop chasing bonuses that don't last. Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom never expires and gives you up to 100% guaranteed bonus every time you load airtime. Simply dial *100#, select Bonga Forever Ever, and talk and text all networks with the bonus that lasts. Get Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom.
Uganda Telecom, Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
Think you have nothing to sell? Look around your home. You'll find something you don't use anymore that you can sell on OLX.
Simply download the OLX app, take a photo of the item you want to sell, post it on OLX for free, meet the buyer, and tunda! OLX, everything sells.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with the Face Off on WBS Television. We have Honorable Segona, we have my colleague Charles Romshana on the show tonight. My name is Vaguma, I'm standing in for Peter Chibazo. Peter, wherever you are, you know the program is streaming live. I'm sure you are watching us even when you're outside the borders of this country. Tell me, people, you seem to say that the judiciary is in a corner. Honorable Segon,
sir,
how does the judiciary get out of this from what you allege is a corner?
Well, I actually did not use the word corner. I used the word captivity. It is in captivity because somebody, and if I remember the ruling of the Honorable Justice Lydia Mugambe in Arias Lukwago versus Attorney General and another.
You had to talk about that one.
Well,
Segona, you had to talk about that
as a point of reference, it's a precedent. One of the things the judge said, and I agree with her, was that you've got the state, which is a huge monster, hovering over small people, individuals, subjects of the state.
Both of you believe that the state is, and the presidency are monsters?
They are.
You really believe so?
You're
going to be president of this country?
True, and that's why I want to change the image of the presidency.
The image of the monster itself?
When you get there, when you change the image,
change, you become monstrous.
Things must change for the better.
So how do we get
out
of this?
But the point is, one, the judiciary has made attempts. And one of such attempts has been in the case of Honorable Gerard Kafure Karuhanga versus Attorney General. The Honorable Member of Parliament was challenging the appointment of the Honorable Justice Benjamin Odoki after retiring. And the judiciary said there is no provision for the president or anyone to appoint an acting Chief Justice or even acting Deputy Chief Justice. He said somebody is in office illegally. But you know, even after making that pronouncement, he's in office serving. Now, it is up to the judiciary, including the judges, the Honorable Justice Odoki, the Honorable Justice Stephen Kavuma. And let me tell you, I have been told before that lawyers are the most intelligent people in this country, and I agree. We are the cream of this country. So
Sure.
it is up to them. Yes. It is up to us, first of all, as the stakeholders, as the beneficiaries of the judicial system in this country, to come up and say, enough is enough. So the judiciary must do its part. The lawyers must do their part. Civil society must do their part. We in Parliament must do our part. Why do we continue to appropriate a budget to an institution that is leaderless? The requirement to have a Chief Justice is a constitutional requirement. Now, we are offending the Constitution we are supposed to protect. The government...
You should be denied bail for that matter.
The government... No, actually, there should even be no one to deny or give me bail in the first place. Government is constituted only and only constituted if the three organs are functioning. Now, you do not have... Justice Lawrence Gidudu, presenting a paper at Entebbe, did the same. And reading the papers, they were saying he was applauded by his colleagues. So, I think it is up to all of us to tell one man, we cannot destroy the systems of this country for the sake of one man. And like I've said, and people have interpreted it politically, and they are right, and I have no regrets for that. If you have a president who cannot pick a pen to sign an instrument to appoint a Chief Justice, simply because he's looking for somebody who is going to dance to his tunes, either that president is incompetent or has something else that is wrong. Unfortunately, when you read the Constitution again, you cannot impeach him on those grounds of inability or abuse of office, because the process again involves participation of the Chief Justice, who is not in office.
And the drafters of the Constitution, the makers of the Constitution are here.
No, no, I cannot blame them. I was young when these people made that Constitution. It's one of the best constitutions. Nobody would ever envisage that at any one point Uganda, after 1995, so in the year 2014-15, you would have an incompetent president. You would have a president who does not have the capacity to sign an instrument appointing a Chief Justice.
He has signed
even
several.
when...
He has appointed
No.
several Chief Justices.
When did he last sign one? Age has caught up with him. Other factors, including politics, catch up with him. They have caught up with him. So you have a president who cannot, or who possibly does, but maybe not to use incompetence, who possibly does not respect institutions of the state, that the Judicial Service Commission, exercising a constitutional mandate, tells him, Mr. President, we have selected this one as the best. I have stated here before, the president does not want functioning institutions because he wants to institutionalize himself and to individualize the institutions of the state. The Honorable Justice David Wangutusi, the Honorable Justice Musoke Chibuka were recommended for appointment to the Court of Appeal. And he said, put it there. Now as we speak, Justice Chibuka has retired. Now, if the president pushes and we push him, he may even recall him and say, I have appointed you pursuant to the instrument which was given to me to promote you when you are still at the bench. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the president may be good depending on how you look at him, on which glasses you're wearing, etc.
Or may be bad as well.
May be bad as I'm viewing him.
According to the glasses.
According to my glasses, he's actually bad. His methods are evil. But one thing must remain. We must respect institutions of the state. There are judges I do not agree with. There are judges I agree with, depending on the decisions they make, depending on how they conduct themselves. Some have conducted themselves disgracefully in this country in the eyes of the public, but I've continued to bow down to them and say, I am obliged, my Lord. Reason, they are judges, they are sitting in that high office of a judge of the country or magistrates, and they are institutions of state. Why do we have a president who has no respect? I think in future, we must put a law that for one to be a president, he must have served in particular offices, political or otherwise, for a given period of time. But having somebody walk straight from the bush to enter State House has proved dangerous in this country.
Bwana Segona, I can see you saying that the president should have been a lawyer for some years, because you lawyers are.
No, you could have been anything else.
Okay, fine. Charles.
Yeah,
from what you describe the situation the judiciary is in, how do they get out?
I'm before the same judiciary. I've been a victim of various adjournments. I know what it means to have the backlog that they have. I've won cases there. I've lost cases there. Behind the scenes, I know what goes on there. Actually, by the way, I'm fully in the know of what goes on around the country. But if you're talking about justice, it's like you can't have democracy without democrats. And democracy entails that if the rules were fair, if the game was fair, if the election was credible, when you lose, you concede and embrace the other party. But Democrats grow. You can't have a revolution without revolutionaries. I mean, you must be ready to change. You must be ready to drop certain traits and then have a brand new character. For justice, it's different. Actually, it's even more serious. Because for it, it must even be seen to be done. You don't do justice in the dark. No. It must be transparent and it must be seen to be done. And the population must have faith in that justice system. Now, you see, the cases like the president brings are those that are popular with the peasant. The firemen, murder. Actually, many would say you don't even need to try. That was the case with Idi Amin, that if you are a spy, shortcut. You remember? If you listen to his voice. If you get a spy is very dangerous, shortcut, no trial. But the same president who condemns him. That's why he says we should celebrate Jonan Room Day. Because of the way Jonan Room was treated by Amin. He had no access to a fair trial. But if Jonan Room had an access to a fair trial and killed like the way this guy, the case of Tamaguzi, Sebirumbi was killed. I mean, you can't have Sebirumbi Day. Because he went through, but this is not to say that the system was that very fair, that very transparent. I followed up the case when Tinyifuza was denied the exit from the military.
So these people are stuck there?
Yes, I know the case of this presidential petition, the other one of 2001. And yes. There can be some bit of science, but it's there, we grow with it. But for you to say that if I bring you someone whom I have alleged has killed so and so, simply sign for the execution. No. That's good to go a little bit too far.
And for us not to go too far in the program, we have to end here. Our time is over.
Thank
you very much.
God is great.
Thank you very much, Charles Rumshana. Thank you very much, Honorable Segona. Thank you very much, the viewers, for keeping with us. Please join us next Friday, 10 p.m. for yet another edition of The Face of Ambaguma. Think Casimiro Richard. I'm saying keep tuned to WBS TV.